Thanks for staying with us. 2024 has come and gone as the year, is almost there. As the year draws to an end, it is important we do a review of activities of government across various sectors. Today we'll be focusing on the education sector and doing an analysis of the policies and realities from primary to tertiary institutions. Dr. Peter Ogudoro, education researcher, is here today to give us an insight to what he feels as an expert in that field. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to join you on the show.
Okay, 2024. Let me just leave it in your hands. How would you assess the education sector in this year ending 2024?
Well, a mixed bag. Towards the end of the year, I think parents got some relief from the federal government when they changed their mind regarding the idea of insisting that only teenagers who are a minimum of 18 years can access universities. And they are now happy to allow them to get into higher educational institutions, even if they are only 16, and hoping to maybe if they have to do anything, they'll have to do that in the future. So I think that brought some relief to parents, and we should give thanks to the president for finding the courage to move in that direction. The only worry I have there is the fact that what we have achieved is to succeed in throwing away the child with the bathwater. Parents have not been made to understand why they shouldn't rush their children through the education system. They have not been helped to recognize that the essence of education is not just to grab grades and finish very fast so that parents can boast that their children finish at secondary school at the age of 14 and finish their university education at the age of 18. It's important that we let children be children, let them play, let them experience education in the true sense of it so that their brains are truly opened to acquire the capacity to reason properly and also recognize that they have both rights and responsibilities in society. So that happened. And again, interestingly, on the negative side for the minister who orchestrated that, he lost his job. Obviously, that challenge he brought on the nation must have been one of the sins I think the president he committed, whether it was him that started it or he just became a sacrificial lamb. So he had to pay a price. He was sad. So that's something that happened. We also had cases of bullies operating within the school system, especially at the secondary school level, where we had some very difficult cases. There was a particular one in Abuja where a girl was beaten in a way that no parent would accept. That has also repeated across the land. So bullying has remained a challenge we have in the education system. And we think that parents don't seem to be playing their roles well. They are leaving a lot in the hands of teachers who don't have all the skills we have assumed that they have. And then we are also giving them too much responsibility. We think that it's the business of the teacher to train the child in every respect. No, teachers have their role to play in training the child, but they don't have the responsibility to start the home training, which helps children to know about the norms of our society. That is job that parents should do at home, that the community should also collaborate with parents to do at home. But we are at a situation where society today, especially working class, women and parents who are elitist, have come to believe that their business is just to look for money and pay high school fees and then leave the training of their children entirely in the hands of teachers. That's a wrong idea, and it will continue to create problems for us until we are able to get children, parents to get orientated and start collaborating with the school system to give their children a balanced education. So that is there. With respect to access to education, it has remained problematic. In the Northeast, many children are still out of school. We have obviously up to 20 million Nigerian children who are still out of school. Security has remained a big challenge in that area. Good quality teachers are unwilling to go and man classrooms in the northeast of the country, that because of the activities of terrorists and banditry in those parts. And we also know now that banditry has even come to the south, and kidnapping has remained a problem. So security challenges have continued to make life relatively difficult for teachers, for children to study in safe and relaxed environments, and that's not very good for us. Funding has remained problematic. We are not funding our schools well. Teachers are not paid well. Teachers are not also getting the training they need to remain globally competitive and by extension help our children to become globally competitive. We are still very autocratic in our parenting style. We are very autocratic in our pedagogy, in our teaching methodology. Our classrooms have remained irregular classrooms, lecture settings where the teacher stands in front of everyone and dishes out what looks like something nobody can form. But that's not where the world is. Children have got ideas to share with teachers and share with their mates. And we have continued to prioritize certificate above skill. Unemployment has continued to remain an albatross that is hanging on everyone's neck in the country. And a major reason why that has remained so is the fact that the quality of education we're giving is not cutting edge. Children are just collecting certificates without skills that match them. At university level, a lot has continued to go wrong. Children are finishing university without skills that match the certificates that they possess, and that's why graduate unemployment has continued to rise. But we know that in the course of the year, NEL fund was obviously implemented, and so a good number of young people, thousands of them, have now had their school fees paid via loans coming from the federal government, which they have to return when they graduate and probably start working. So that, in some sense, is cheering news to parents who, if not for NEL fund, will not be able to keep their children in classrooms in universities. Those are a few things we have to look at and recognize at this point in time. But we must not, in our preliminary remarks in this conversation, fail to recognize that our university dons have continued to find teaching in universities in Nigeria a very unattractive assignment. It's not very pleasurable to be a university lecturer in Nigeria. We don't pay well, and our laboratories are not equipped for those who run who teach sciences, who teach engineering. So brain drain has continued to remain a major challenge affecting the university system. So a lot of very good hands are leaving the country because they are not very happy with governance in the university system. Poor pay and security challenges too have continued to drive the best brains in our universities out of the country. So we find a lot of courses now that we are no longer going to be able to offer. Unilag, I think in the course of the year, did discourage young people coming to University of Lagos from applying for biochemistry. So I suspect very strongly that the professors who run that course in that university are probably not there in the number that they were before. So those are challenges as well as little wins in the education system. A lot more can be said.
Okay, well, you've mentioned a lot of things, and a lot of these things that you've mentioned also need areas of growth. If you could proffer some of these. For instance, the NEL fund that you're talking about, I'm not sure everybody who needs that money has been able to access that money at this point. So what is lacking? What can be done better to make sure that it's accessible to everybody? And then, yeah, just basically that before we delve into other issues.
Well, one problematic area in the education system across all levels is the a major missing link, which is career management system. Counselors, you don't have them in every school, and the few counselors we have, most of them don't have cutting-edge skills that will help them to, especially at the secondary school level, be able to help the children to know where opportunities are, how to fund their higher education, how to make the right choice of courses, how to make proper applications to be able to get into universities, whether at home or abroad. So under normal circumstances, it's not actually when a child has written JAM UTME that the child has to start realizing that, yes, there's something called NEF fund. That information should be provided at secondary school level, even as early as in senior secondary school 1, so that children and their parents know how to plan and strategize on how they can fund their education. So that awareness is not there at the secondary school level. It's only after children have passed JAM UTME that they start worrying about how to get to university. And when they get to university, even when this is mentioned, because of the way politicians have behaved, over the years, very irresponsibly, by not, keeping their word, reaching agreements, especially in the university system, without honoring agreements they have reached, especially with the university lecturers. So what you find is that when government came out and said, yes, we are going to lend you money to pay your fees, many parents didn't believe government and are still yet to believe government. And so we need a communication system that will make it very clear that indeed this is reality. Government is not playing any hide and seek on this one. It's something that is backed up by law. The money has been mobilized and it's being funded, and there is an agency that is staffed with relevant manpower to ensure that this is well processed. So we need to create that awareness right from the schools, secondary school system, using secondary school counselors to make children recognize that money is available for them to borrow to go to university. I'm not aware that that counselors have even been recruited into the process that creates awareness regarding the existence of NEF fund, which I think again reflects ignorance on the part of the people who run our education system. Most of the time, we don't see the relevance of school counselors, but they are, when it comes to creating awareness regarding what should and should not happen in the system, they are the ones who have the professional skills to make those things happen. But unfortunately for us, education policymakers and education inspectors are completely unaware of the indispensable place of counselors in a school system that works for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know a secondary school that has a counselor that is qualified to do the job and who actually does the job. But now that you're pointing it out, I hope that they will look into it. But what does the government need to do to address the issues in the society that make it difficult for the educational system to run the way it should run? For instance, you talked about the need to make ends meet by the parents who just abandon their children in schools, and the requisite things that they need to teach their children, they are not able to do that. So workplace will give you the pressure so much so that you cannot have time for your child. And then the stigmatization of the people who hold HND and or OND in the society. Sometimes they look at you, even the employers of labor just look at you like that you're beneath a certain level that you should have been and all that. So it makes people want to clamor to go and get something that they may not even be good enough for, or they may not even be able to use the way they're supposed to use it and all that. So there are things, fundamental things in the society that may not be directly in the education sector, but are influencing how the education system runs by the way people do it and, everything, all the sundry things around that. So how do you want the policies of government to be in such a way that it can help the education sector to flourish the way it should flourish?
Well, the most important idea we need to put on the table here is the fact that education of the child is a collaborative effort that does not begin and end with what school leaders and teachers do in the classrooms. Educating the child is a joint venture involving the policymakers, the politicians who make the laws in parliament, the ministers who execute the laws, And of course, the parents who are the ones who start the process of education, because normally a child is supposed to have spent about 3 years at home working with parents, learning the norms of society by both precepts and examples put forward by their parents. And again, getting also fellow community members to get involved in this transaction, including grandmother, grandfather, siblings, cousins, aunties, etc., and even the church and mosques. They all have their roles to play in providing balanced education to the child, because in the education system, we are not just beginning and ending with what we do in classrooms, and the needs of the child do not begin and end with only intellectual development. We also need to develop the child morally, socially, and of course, even spiritually. Every child needs that balanced help coming from society, and so it is a collaborative effort. What I have come to know as a researcher in the industry is the fact that nobody seems to, especially those who run the Ministry of Education at all levels in our country, don't seem to have the awareness that indeed, when we talk about stakeholders in the education system, they don't begin and end with just those who work in Ministry of Education and school owners and teachers, and probably those who occupy lofty positions in universities, especially those who run faculties of education, that we should go all the way to the larger society, where we have, parents, and interestingly, parents also have a platform through which they are supposed to be collaborating with government. But I have no reason to believe that platform works well and to the advantage of society. So if we get a Minister of Education who has awareness in this area, the starting point for him would be, or her, would be to ensure that truly we have a forum where all the stakeholders in the education system meet, and those stakeholders must, as of necessity, include parents who start the process of education, and those who even run our religious, our religious systems, the religious leaders, so that they all know that they have contributions to make to ensure that our children get balanced education. As of today, that is not where we are.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank you at this point, Mr. Ogudoro. What is your Christmas message? Just 30 seconds to Nigerians, New Year and Christmas message, in case we don't meet on the show again before next year.
Well, I'm wishing everyone a great time this season, and people should know that despite the challenges that we seem to be facing as a country at this point in time, we are going somewhere that is great if we're all willing to demonstrate flexibility in the way we think, and then follow unconventional paths to mine the gold, the diamonds that God has deposited in our land. Tomorrow looks brighter than today.
Amen to that. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogudoro, for your time this morning. We hope that education system will be better by next year. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, we've been talking to Dr. Peter Ogudoro, education researcher. We were looking at the year 2024 education-wise in retrospect, and we couldn't cover all the things like the budget and all that about education, but all the things that we were able to say is that, okay, the future might look brighter than now. There were challenges, but they are not unsurmountable. Well, that's how we wrap it up on the show this morning. We'd like to thank you for your time. Some people will be traveling today, some have already reached their destinations and they're watching us from there. Merry Christmas to you in advance. My name is Nyamgul Agaji.